You're not crazy. You've probably noticed it. There are people who walk through the world with this invisible suit of charisma. They aren't necessarily wearing head-to-toe Gucci or driving a gold-plated Ferrari. In fact, the ones who are really in the club usually look pretty boring. But they move differently. They talk differently. They react to problems in a way that feels alien to the rest of us. Today, we're going to peel back the wallpaper. We're going to look at the subtle behaviors that signal someone is upper class. Not to make you feel bad, but to show you the hidden code they're using. Because once you see and understand their behavior, it stops being so mysterious. But before we get into it, do me a huge favor and hit that like and subscribe button. Now, let's dive into it. Habit 1. The luxury of bad clothes. Let's start at the surface. You'd think being upper class means looking like $1 million 24/7, right? Well, not quite. If you grew up without a lot, you were probably taught that you have to dress up to be respected. You wear your best shoes to the doctor. You make sure your shirt is crisply ironed for a flight. You do this because you know that if you look messy, the world treats you like a problem to be solved. But watch the truly wealthy. They'll walk into a high-end hotel in a tattered college hoodie and salt-stained boat shoes. Why? Because they don't need the clothes to do the talking for them. When you're upper class, your status is baked in. You don't feel the need to signal wealth with a giant logo because you assume, rightly or wrongly, that people already know you belong there. It's the costume of convenience. They prioritize comfort over impression because they've never had to worry about being kicked out of a room for looking like they don't have a job. Does that make sense? For them, fashion is a choice. For everyone else, it's a shield. Habit 2. The future tense. Conversation. Have you ever noticed what people talk about at a neighborhood dive bar versus a country club? In most normal circles, the conversation is about the now or the past. It's about how tired we are from work today. The crazy thing the boss said yesterday, or that one great summer 10 years ago. It's survival-based storytelling. It's how we bond over the shared struggle of getting through the week. The upper class talks almost exclusively in the future tense. Where are we going next winter? What does the market look like in 5 years? Which school is the best for the kids' development in 2030? They aren't smarter than you. They just aren't exhausted. When you aren't worried about the weird noise your car makes when you hit 60 miles per hour, your brain has the bandwidth to plan a decade out. Wealth buys you a telescope. Poverty forces you to use a microscope just to see the ground in front of your feet. Habit 3. Radical low urgency. This is a big one, and it's hard to unsee once you notice it. I call it low urgency energy. If a waiter messes up an order, or a flight gets delayed, or a pipe bursts in the house, watch the reaction. A person who has struggled usually gets tight. Their voice goes up an octave. They get defensive. Why? Because a mistake feels like a threat. A flight delay means losing a day of precious PTO. A burst pipe is a financial catastrophe that ruins the next 3 months. The upper class? They stay eerily calm. Not because they're Zen masters, but because nothing is a final blow. To them, a problem is just a logistical inconvenience that can be solved with a phone call or a credit card. They don't scramble. They don't rush. They move slowly because they know the world will wait for them. This calmness is a massive class signal. It says, I am more important than this problem. Habit 4. The relationship with authority. Look, I'm not going to lie to you. This one is the most frustrating. Most of us were raised to be polite to authority. We say yes sir or no ma'am to the bank manager or the doctor. We treat the system like a giant sleeping bear that we don't want to poke. We're afraid of being difficult. The upper class treats authority like a service provider. They don't ask for permission, they ask for clarification. They don't see a no from a bureaucrat as a final answer. They see it as the start of a negotiation. They grew up at dinner tables where their parents talked about the principal, the senator, or the CEO as Bob or Janet. They aren't intimidated by the system because they are the system. They feel an inherent right to be heard. While you're worried about being a nuisance, they're wondering why their needs haven't been met yet. Habit 5. The quality. Obsession. The Veblen trap. There's a weird thing that happens when money stops being an object. You stop looking at the price tag and start looking at the provenance. An upper-class person won't brag about how much something cost. In fact, they might brag about how long it has lasted. They'll point to a raggedy leather chair and say, "Oh, that was my grandfather's. It's English bridal leather." They value things that are quiet. They hate new money flash. They want the $400 white t-shirt that looks like a $10 t-shirt to anyone who doesn't know better. This is a way of gatekeeping. It's a secret handshake. If you know why a certain type of watch or a specific brand of raincoat is the one, you're in the club. If you think a giant gold chain is the signal, you've already lost the game. It's about signaling to your own tribe while staying invisible to everyone else. Habit 6. Social arbitrage and the safety net mental map. Now we're getting to the root. The deepest signal isn't what they buy, it's how they use people. For the working class, help is a favor. You ask your cousin to help you move because you can't afford movers. You feel guilty about it. You owe them one. For the upper class, help is an ecosystem. They have a guy for everything. A guy for the taxes, a guy for the landscaping, a guy who knows which private schools are on the way up. They don't see this as a burden, they see it as leveraging their network. But here's the kicker. The signal is the total lack of fear regarding failure. Imagine you're walking a tightrope. If you're like most people, you're looking at your feet, sweating, knowing that if you slip, you hit the concrete. That's why you're tense. That's why you're tired. The upper class is walking that same rope, but they know there's a massive invisible safety net 6 inches below them. That net is made of family money, old boys clubs, and assets. Because they aren't afraid of the fall, they can perform tricks on the rope. They can take risks. They can be bold. That boldness we're told to admire in billionaires, it's usually just the absence of consequence. But here's the reality check, and I want to pause here. If you're feeling a bit heavy-hearted listening to this, I get it. It feels like there's this secret language you weren't taught, right? You're playing a game of chess while they're playing with a completely different rule book. So what do we do? Do we just sit here and be mad? You could, but that doesn't pay the bills or get your kids into a better spot. The goal isn't to fake it until you're wearing a tattered hoodie in a 5-star hotel. The goal is to demystify them. When you see someone acting with that low urgency energy, don't be intimidated. Realize they just have a different relationship with risk. Once you understand their habits, you can start adopting the pieces that actually serve you. For instance, you can stop explaining yourself. One of the biggest lower class signals is over-explaining why you need something or why you're late. Upper class people are concise. I can't make it is a full sentence. Practice that. You can invest in future tense thinking, even if it's just 10 minutes a week. Force your brain out of the now and into the next. It's a muscle. Or you can build your own service ecosystem. You might not have a hedge fund manager, but you have a community. Stop seeing asking for help as a weakness. Start seeing it as building a network. Look, the world is changing. The old money signals are getting weirder, and the gap is getting wider. But the most upper class thing you can actually do is to stop caring about their approval. The trap is thinking you need to speak their language perfectly to be successful. You don't. You just need to know the language exists so you don't let it make you feel less than. You're doing the work. You're holding it together. And honestly, that's a hell of a lot more impressive than being born with a safety net. So if you enjoyed this video, do me a favor and give it a thumbs up, share this with a friend or two, and subscribe if you haven't. With that said, have a great day, and see you in the next one.